and this could be a big one. Internal talks at Arsenal continue over the recruitment of a forward. There's a long-term interest in Benjamin Sesko from RB Leipzig.
Premier League to be won this season.
Of course.
They need to do some business, surely.
Of course there is, but there's also many examples in a January window when, right, we need to do something very quickly. Let's get it done. And if it's the wrong player, that can set you back for a summer transfer window, particularly if you spend big money in a January transfer window on someone that's not your first choice. If it works out and they win the league, fantastic. If it doesn't work out and they don't win the league, slight problem. You can't go for your long-term target in the summer because you've actually spent this much money on that other target already. So you're going to be a little bit compromised come the summer transfer window. So they do have to weigh all of these things up. And as I keep saying on the show many times, and it's not just to do with Arsenal, these clubs always focus on a summer transfer window. That's how they plan their recruitment 1, 2, 3 years ahead. January is usually a reactive window. If they've got lots of injuries, I guess you can say, yes, Arsenal do have that. Jesus is out, Saka is out. Saka, though, will be back
fans will
before
say
the
Arsenal
end of the
react.
season.
It's a reactive window.
Of course,
react.
of course. But fans will also say, what are they doing? Are they just sitting there? Of course they're not. Of course they want to do something. It's not like they're just saying, let's just wait for the summer. Carry on, see what happens.
OK, fine.
They're not going to do that.
All right. What about people leaving Arsenal, Michael?
Well, it'd be probably in the left-back area. Got Alexander Zinchenko and Kieran Tierney. Zinchenko's an interesting one. Remember breaking that when he joined from Manchester City. But look, Arsenal have moved on. And Lewis Skelly's performance against Spurs the other night, and I know they love him ever so well. They've got Julian Timber, haven't they, at left-back? Calafiore can play there as well.
Yeah, they've got cover, haven't they?
Yeah, and we know there's interest from Celtic and Tierney. There's been interest from Dortmund in Zinchenko. But you've got a bit more on Tierney and Celtic, haven't you?
Yeah, look, I mean, Celtic definitely want him. They have spoken to his representatives over a pre-contract agreement in the summer, and that one looks like it will happen, or it's close to happening. With 6 months left on his contract, Arsenal had the option to extend for a further 12 months. They haven't taken up that option, so they know now Tierney can speak to anyone outside England. However, Celtic will still explore internally whether they want to try and do a loan for this month as well, for the rest of the season. Now, the Champions League might have a say in that. If they reach the knockout stages, then they'll have extra fixtures, and I think then they will want to bring in Tierney as soon as possible. If they don't get to the Champions League knockout stages, then there is a strong possibility where they'll think, well, we've got enough for the league, there's a big enough lead, we can wait for Kieran Tierney until the summer. But let's just wait for these fixtures, because as Michael was saying before, this is unprecedented with European football. We've got fixtures in January. I think they just want to get these out of the way before they decide. But having said that, Arsenal will only let the likes of Zinchenko and Tierney go as long as they've got backup in that squad.
It's great for fans, but I've never done a January like it. But the League Cup, FA Cup, Europe, after such a busy Christmas period. But this is where we are.
Yeah, it is indeed. I'm being told
for Leipzig. Sesko with a cannonball. That was hit with such venom, such authority. Not even two goalkeepers.
When all of the reports came out that Arsenal may have made a bid for Ollie Watkins, I think it infuriated Aston Villa with it coming so close to that massive game that they had in the Champions League against Celtic yesterday. But it's my understanding that those talks actually happened earlier on in the week when Arsenal and Villa were talking about a deal, and that there was a gap in valuation between what Arsenal were prepared to pay, what Villa wanted, around about 20 million, we think. We think Arsenal thought 40. We think Villa wanted about 60 million. And then interestingly, I don't know if you saw Unai Emery after the game against Celtic. In his news conference, he was asked a question about Watkins, and he said this, he said, I don't want him to leave, But it is good news to have offers from other clubs. We want to keep our sporting objective through the players we have in the squad. So he didn't outright say Ollie Watkins is not for sale. I'm not saying he's inviting bids or anything, but it was just left that door open to me because it's one of those times of the window where you say never. And with Ollie Watkins, if Arsenal and Villa have been in talks, they must have had some sort of encouragement, Arsenal, that maybe there's a deal to be done. Interestingly, one source told us earlier that the chance to sign Watkins was actually proposed to Arsenal. And as I mentioned before, they thought 40, Villa were thinking 60. And the feeling is that if any potential deal can be done, it would require Aston Villa to reduce that valuation. But clearly, as I said at the top, Villa don't want to lose Ollie Watkins and John Duran in the same transfer window.
Jamie, they can't lose their two number nines.
I don't see that happening. But what it's maybe done from a negotiational point of view is it's made Al Nassr spend a lot more money because they're pretty. Well, we got to act quickly because they've made a bid, and one or the other was going to go. I don't see them both. Although obviously I heard you talking about money does talk, but I just feel that can't, that certainly can't happen. I felt that. I feel a little bit of sympathy for John at Aston Villa because he's up against a top striker. It's very difficult to sort of get someone like Ollie Watkins out of the team. He scores, he assists, he's a very important player to them. And obviously everyone's going to have a view on him going, but it wouldn't be for me. I wouldn't have, at that age, wouldn't wanted to go. But I totally get it. If for him it was going to change his family's life, he's going to earn vast amounts of money in 3 or 4 years' time. He could always come back to the Premier League. It's very easy for people to judge on these situations and say he shouldn't do this, he shouldn't go to another league. But financially, he's going to secure not just his, all his family, from where he's from, and make their lives so much better. So it's very easy to judge in these situations. The money that we're probably talking, as you guys know, is astronomical. And
Chief reporter money is.
Yeah, is that the chief?
Oh, yeah.
This story was first reported by Sammy Botbell in the Daily Mail, and he has dug up some interesting information because he says that back in 2020, when Ollie Watkins was at Brentford, he gave an interview in which he said that it was always his dream to play for Arsenal, and apparently Thierry Henry was his hero when he was growing up. Now, that may well be the case, but that doesn't mean that Aston Villa are going to be selling him to Arsenal. But it is big news, especially for Arsenal fans who've been crying out for their club to sign a new striker because they believe they need a striker to win the title. The story is a little bit complicated, though, because Aston Villa have got two number nines, effectively, who are in demand. There's Ollie Watkins, there's also John Duran. West Ham have been trying to sign him. They put in a bid, that was rejected. For players like John Duran and also Mitoma at Brighton.
So and agents as well the agents' fees are going to be so huge as well, and tax-free. Yeah, it's there's a couple of years out there. Listen, playing the Premier League is life-changing. Let's not kid ourselves.
So where does all this leave Arsenal? Because Villa surely are going to hold on to Watkins tighter, and Arsenal interested, we think. So where does that leave them in the search for a striker?
Well, look, obviously Mikel Arteta, I'm sure Arsenal fans, they've known for a long time they need a striker. I think we looked at is it January the 14th that Jesus did his cruciate ligament?
Yeah, that's when it got announced he was going to be out for a while.
You've known it for a while, and if you were that keen on Ollie Watkins, or that was the man you wanted, you could have made a bid a little bit earlier. I think he's 30 years of age. He's a very good player, but it just feels that they're almost going to get to the point now where they're going to miss getting a striker in this window, and they certainly need one.
One thing I would say though I was speaking to you about this just before your parents' evening, and we're talking about exactly this. Why have Arsenal waited until now? Well, before Gabriel Jesus' injury, they were clearly looking at a certain type of striker. It might have been a short-term deal that they were looking at from abroad. When this injury happens and he's out for that length of time, Arsenal's tack changed slightly to, right, we might need a full replacement here, we might need to do a permanent deal here. So it's not just a case of, right, just go and get someone. They have to do their due diligence again, all over again. And it might have taken them a week and a half, 2 weeks.